Three, two, one, here we go. RAINMAN'S Take podcast. Observations on the world we live in. My take on current events and other topics of interest. Also interviews with some really cool people. So let's get the conversation going. Hey everybody, it's the Rain Man with another episode for you today. But before I get into it, if you are part of the Rain Man's Take community already, thank you very much. If you're new to the program, welcome. I know you're going to love the content. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And also, if you could watch this video to the end, that'll help me with the YouTube algorithm, which will help get the word out to more people, which will help continue the conversation. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and kick off today's episode. And I'm calling this episode, What is the Opposite of MAGA? Now, why is that of interest to me? And why do I feel it needs to be addressed today? Well, because recently James Carvel, the infamous, bombastic, and quite frankly outdated Democratic political operative, had this to say in a January 25th Zero Hedge article titled Veteran Democrat Strategist Admits Resistance Has No Response for Trump, Begs Biden to Disappear. Now, in the article, it states that Carvel, who was Bill Clinton's 1992 campaign head, also directed criticism at President Joe Biden, urging the former president to just get out of the way and make room for a new generation of Democrats to take back power from the America First movement. Now, do they really not want America to be great? Unfortunately, I think so. Now, before I give my take on this, just a quick reminder about James Carvel. He is the OG of scorched earth politics. Destroy the other side by whatever means necessary. Now, at the time, with his work on Bill Clinton's presidential run in the early 1990s, this included the relatively new strategy of destroying the lives of multiple women who came forward about Clinton's many examples of sexual harassment during his political life leading up to the presidential campaign and then during his presidency. Now, people on the left had no problem with those tactics. So now, here's Carvel back again, and in my view, currently as irrelevant as the Clintons are now. So they cart him out in front of the cameras for the requisite stale tirade. It's purely political. Power is the only goal with this guy, regardless of what that brings about to us and our country. So enough about Carvel. This is what he actually said. Take back power from the America First movement. I ask you, what does that mean? What does the opposite of America First look like? What does the left propose as an alternative? If not wanting America to be first, to prosper, to conduct business and international policy looking out for the well-being of our country and our citizens, then what? What is the opposite of that? Well, in my view, we just lived through 4 years of what that looks like. The active and deliberate deconstruction of our great country. Now, David Rockefeller actually said this in his memoirs from the 1950s. And I've covered this in the past, but I think it's worth repeating again. Now, I quote David Rockefeller here. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries. Now, the Clintons were very close to David Rockefeller, and the Clintons, Obamas, and Bidens absolutely believe in that philosophy. The World Economic Forum and the Davos crowd of globalists have been pushing this agenda hard for the last 4 years, thinking America was ripe for the picking. Now, Trump's second term has put a serious damper on that view and their plans, and thank God for that. Thankfully, we Americans are not yet ready to give up our country. Now, I'll just provide one example of many that are out there, and that is Biden's disastrous open border policy and Trump's plan to secure it and get control of the torrent of illegal immigrants that have crossed our southern border. Now, there are estimates that has been around 10 million people over the last 4 years. getting control of the wide open southern border, stopping the invasion, and properly vetting all incomers and enforcing existing laws. That is what the MAGA solution is for this problem. The opposite is, as you saw, absolute chaos, no vetting, completely open borders, and sanctuary for even proven, hardened criminals. This opposite view is meant to rip apart the fabric of our law-abiding society and sow the seeds of chaos and mayhem. You're seeing the opposite of the Make America Great movement in full display right now, with the left and the mainstream media's reaction to Trump's deportation policies. Everyone in Trump's administration has stated emphatically they are only going after the criminal illegal aliens in order to keep Americans safe. Estimates have the number of hardened criminals in the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. This past weekend alone, nearly 1,000 illegal alien criminals were rounded up in raids. Now, per a recent article from Breitbart titled ICE Arrests 956 Illegals on Sunday as President Trump Enforces Immigration Law. Now I'm going to read, I'll read a little bit from that quote here. Texas Department of Public Safety spokesperson Chris Olivares said, "That's really what people need to understand, is that we are looking for criminals. We're talking about law enforcement across the board. We're looking for the worst of the worst in these communities. I can't see how anyone would even dispute that, how they would not want anyone or any law enforcement agency to remove those public safety threats from the community." Now, if you listen to the mainstream media, and I'll use NPR, PBS NewsHour as an example here. If you listen to them, law enforcement is deporting all undocumented immigrants, as if they're going house to house looking for anyone and everyone who is undocumented and rounding them all up. Let alone the fact all these illegal aliens in these images on the television are men in handcuffs being taken away by law enforcement. The government knows who the criminals are, and there are a lot of them. You have to ask yourself, why would NPR not want those people removed? Now, this is a very important question, and to my knowledge, not one person on the left has given an adequate answer. In my view, that is what Carvel is proposing, that a Democrat step up and oppose the America First movement by promoting the insane notion of not wanting these criminals to be rounded up and deported. Again, this is one example of many that I could point out. Now, almost every policy of the left seems to be the opposite of promoting American prosperity, interests, and safety, both on the domestic and international stage. And the example of the Biden administration's border policy is indicative of that. Now, then there's this example that just occurred recently. New York Magazine just got busted photoshopping a picture for one of their articles aiming to depict the Trump inauguration as an example of how racist the MAGA crowd is. And they got busted by the host of the particular party where that doctored picture was taken. And he's an African American. His name is C.J. Pearson, and he is the Black co-chair of the GOP Youth Advisory Council, who hosted the event that New York Magazine photoshopped to remove Black guests from the image. Now let that sink in for a second. It's just crazy. Anyway, Pearson wrote this on X. "This is insane. I hosted this event, and the New York Magazine intentionally left me out of their story because it would have undermined their narrative that MAGA is some racist cult." Now, another African-American attendee, a guy named Rob Smith, who's a decorated Iraq war veteran and Turning Point USA staffer, also had this to say about the event. "I was at the party, as were many other conservative media influencers who are Black, Latino, and Asian, etc. So only, in my view, only someone who hates America and wants to portray it as something it isn't would do something like this. Trump's MAGA movement embraces and is embraced by young people of all colors and backgrounds, and that is truly helping to make America great. Everyone feels like they can celebrate America's uniqueness and exceptionalism again now that Trump is back in office. And to me, that is a very good thing. To me, that is what the America First crowd is all about. So that's, again, like I said, that's just a couple of examples of the opposition to this America First movement. Now, that's enough for today. I think, again, I could go on forever about this, but I think that's good enough for today's episode. So let me go ahead and finish it like I always do. And that is, if you're in the military, the police departments, fire departments, or first responders, if that's you out there, thank you very much for your service. Stay safe. This is the Rain Man. More to follow next time. Take care. Thanks for watching Rain Man's Take, Observations on the World We Live in. If you like the content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. You can also follow Rain Man's Take on Instagram at Rain Man's Take. Also, check out our website at www.rainmanstakepodcast.com and send your comments to rainmanstake@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for future podcasts, which will be coming out every Thursday at 5 p.m. West Coast time.